I think that it's such a good metaphor because you can't water a garden all at once.
No,
That's a flood that washes everything away. And
loving this.
that idea of like finishing the watering, like doing it all at once, doesn't work in this space.
I've done the garden. The garden is now done. Yeah, I've completed garden.
Jessica, it looks
It's
like you're.
now under 6 feet of water. Yeah.
Let's let Jessica get in here.
It's a carousel of gardens, right? So you just and you spin them, and you know some look great, some are dead. You water. I completely am with this idea of, you know, finish. Nothing is ever actually finished. It's really hard to. When I actually finished something, which was part of my transition, I just literally went into shock for about 6 months, like physical, mental, everything, shock. I cannot even vacuum the house and put the vacuum cleaner away. Like I can't do the whole. It's like I can't even finish a task. So there's this sense of carouseling tasks, and what I've had to understand is maybe rather than me work 3 times as fast as everyone else to kind of finish, I accept that it'll take me at least 3 times as long, and one thing may die along the way on my carousel of gardens, in which case it was never meant to be, which is a little bit fatalistic, but that it actually allows you to kind of work through your ideas quite quickly, practice fast failure, have that experience of actually, you know, hated that tree anyway, it didn't suit me, it was that, you know, whatever the thing was. I'm glad it's dead now, it's relieved me of that burden. So that's kind of how I do it, but which sounds similar to Matthew's, but also it looks, I'm uncertain about how that looks and features in the world generally. I don't think it's warmly received, mainly.
Probably not.
I think a lot of it's, interestingly, Mark mentioned around, there's something about output and shipping in that, and imperfection and shipping and sharing things that don't work. So yeah, that's a really big issue. And for me, it's like this idea that something has to be finished before you can share it with the world. And actually, for me, a lot of it's been joining those two things together. It's like, okay, I'm going to explore, I'm going to do a bit of that, I'm going to do a bit of this, and I'm going to share that now. That's part of the work. That's what I ship. Instead of the finished thing, because I'm never going to get to finished. I don't perceive a finishing point. I don't really, you know, they don't make a lot of sense to me on an intrinsic level. I don't see those boundaries. I see like fuzzy, like I see cycles and fuzzy edges rather than finished. So I ship it. So it's out there now. And that's the product. That's always the thing, rather than it being this idea of like getting to some arbitrary finished point. And I think for me, part of it is because it does seem it can be very unproductive. And for me, I spent a lot of time being afraid of sharing that stuff and sharing that work because it wasn't finished. It didn't have all the answers. It wasn't necessarily tidy and polished. And actually, and being told that I should be, you know, finishing it. Actually, no, what I should have been doing is getting it out there.
That's still a real edge for me, actually. Like, you know, I know I'm having empathy with Chris, who was freaking out earlier. This is my, like, I get it conceptually and theoretically, but I know that's one of my biggest edges is like, you know, I want to grow the flowers and then put them in a nice bouquet and be like, here you are, world. I don't really want to come and show you my messy garden that's still got some brambles in it and, you know, be like, you know, ignore that bit, here's the bit, you know, like, yeah. So that's, like, I totally agree with it theoretically, and emotionally it's one of the things that I find the hardest to actually do.
I think the flowers are one thing, but you know, a lot of the stuff we're growing in the garden, how do you know when it's finished? Are my tomatoes done when they're ripe, or are they done when someone cuts it in half and smells it and puts it in their mouth and chews it up? Are they done when all the nutrients of the tomato have done their work in that person's body? And you know, are they done when the plant has died and become a compost for the next year's tomato plant? I mean, there's kind of no end to it at some point.
But that cyclical thing is lovely, because some projects feed the next projects, and the things that you learn, whether it's failure or success, those are the seeds that help, germinate. Maybe they're not directly, but they go into the soil. Like, all these metaphors are working. Yeah, they absolutely go into the compost of the soil for the next thing. And yeah, so all these things that we've learned through these things that we've made, they all go into making the mulch for next things. And that's how they win. That's how they're finished, is how they fuel the next thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just thinking about
over
something
again.
No, he's gone back in, repressed and buried in a very healthy way. And I was thinking about something that Jessica said about that. Maybe there's something about pace and speed as well. Like there's not finishing things, but there's like I work at such a furious pace and I get so much done, and I do so much that I actually shoot myself in the foot in as much I then don't have any time to share. And the sharing is the bit that brings people in and grows your business. Like, maybe I need, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think a big part of the whole thing too is also that in the garden, the forces that are actually making the plants and the fruit are completely mysterious and uncontrollable to us. And we can do a lot of the tending and preparing the soil and do all that kind of stuff, but the actual process of growth is both mysterious and completely out of our control. There's hands up. Go ahead, Marianne.
Yeah, well, no, I just was going to agree with you. And actually, funnily enough, I'm really late planting things in my garden this year. So I literally planted some of my spring bulb yesterday. I should have done it in November. But, I think sometimes the way, like, if I think about my expectations of myself and my kind of own impatience with myself, it would be the equivalent of like, I planted some daffodils yesterday, and it would be as if I was going to go out today and be like, come on, daffodils, where are you? Like, it genuinely, I'm quite new to gardening, even though my dad's a gardener, I come from a long line of gardeners, but, it was a genuine shock to be like, oh wait, you plant daffodils in November, but they don't come out until March. Like, I didn't realize that. And I think, the mysterious forces include the force of time and include the force of like a little plant being under the soil in the dark for 5 months and it looks like nothing is happening, and oh man, that's Chris's void, isn't it? That's a tough place to be in, because you're like, I can't see it, what's going on? I have to just trust that at some point this little bulb is going to shoot through the soil. So yeah, that was it really. But
maybe yours will come up in May.
Oh, Craig, I mean, don't mess with me. I know I've planted them late, but, come on, bulbs. April, at least, I hope.